What's up with you and this clown all of a sudden? You're like obsessed.
They never found his body. What if he decides to come back here?
I wouldn't worry about it.
Wait a minute, aren't you that guy from the costume shop?
Sir, what are you? Short Man Filmworks in the building, and we have another episode of the Everyday Man's film reviews for you guys tonight. All right, y'all. So I'm going in a different direction. You know, y'all saw my video before this. Thanking you guys for coming along with me on this ride, and I thoroughly appreciate it for me doing this thing and starting it up. So I thoroughly appreciate you guys watching the videos and doing your comments, and some of the comments I'm not getting, so it's probably something in the sentence that I'm not doing, so I got to figure that out. But I thank you guys for watching the videos that I put out so far, and you know, like I said, we're gonna look forward to some more. So as I said, man, I'm taking a little detour. You know, I'm still gonna talk about my 80s movies, and I'm still gonna talk about more of my movies from back in the day. But as I'm going along, you know, theaters are starting to open up again. You know, I started this thing after the pandemic, and a lot of the movies that was coming out kind of were like independent movies in the theaters, and you didn't really have too many mainstream movies coming out. So a lot of stuff is still streaming and, you know, still coming to the home. But I still love that theater experience. But as I said, a lot of movies are starting to come to theaters now. So I'm going to be doing a lot of updated videos about more new content. You know what I mean? And basically today, we're going to be talking about Terrifier 2. Woo! Okay. Jesus. Where do I start with this movie? Okay, so I didn't know nothing about this movie. You know, I got put onto this movie by watching the trailer. And in watching the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, all right, this looks like something that I can get with. You know, it's a slasher movie, so it's got that, you know, it's Halloween. So now, you know, you at the time where, you know, a lot of Halloween movies are coming out right now, a lot of scary movies, a lot of slasher movies. You know, it's geared toward that genre. And seeing the trailer, I was like, okay, you know, I can get with this movie. I can try it out. I can get with it. Ooh, Lord knows I did not know what I was walking into watching this movie. Okay. I'm trying to figure out where I can start. Well, let me just go with it. I'm just gonna flow with it. I'm just going with it. I've never seen Terrifier 1. Actually, I never even heard of Terrifier 1 before this before I seen the trailer to this movie. And going to see this movie, I was like, well, maybe I should watch Terrifier 1 before I see this movie. But the way I'm thinking about it, you know, a lot of times with these horror movies, you don't really have to watch the first one. You can kind of just go into it and kind of figure out what's going on in the movie from the shit that's going on. And yeah, I pretty much got the gist of what was going on in this movie from this one. I didn't expect to go into a motherfucking gore fest. Oh my God. And I heard the first one was a little crucial too, but this movie, let me tell you something about these gore fest movies, and what they call torture porn. It's hard to believe that a lot of people are into this shit, but there are people who are really into this stuff. And I didn't used to watch horror movies. I didn't start watching horror movies until I got into my you know, my young adolescent years, into my teenage years. That's when I started going back to a lot of the slasher movies and the stuff that I was too scared to watch when I was younger. You know what I mean? But going into this movie gives you that old nostalgic 80s feel of a horror movie. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's bad, because it's not a bad movie. It's just, whew. All I can say is, if you're a squeamish person and you can't watch a lot of gore and a lot of guts and shit being ripped out, this is not the movie for you. You know what I mean? And I can truly say, like, I can take some of it, but as I'm getting older, my tolerance is getting very low. Like, I used to have a high tolerance of just watching squeamish and gory shit. Like when the Saw movies came out, you know, I can watch it and just look at it and be like, all right, I'm cool, I can watch it. But, you know, I think somewhere like in my mid-30s, I'm like, I don't think I could watch too much of this stuff no more. I know the last, and some people who seen this movie and they love this movie probably gonna tell me I'm a sucker for this shit. But the last movie I actually saw that really kind of gave me an uneasy feeling, and it was gory, was The Green Inferno. The Green Inferno. And after watching that movie, there's a scene where the dude they cut him up and he's alive. And I'm like, and I know it's not real and I know it's fake, but that shit stuck with me for a long time. And I said, okay, I don't think I can watch too many gory movies like this anymore, because it really fucked with my psyche for a while, just watching that shit. So going into this movie, whew, and he always follow your damn instincts. Because I remember when I watched the trailer, and I just watched the trailer a couple days ago. When I watched the trailer, I was like, okay, I don't think this is gonna be too bad. But then there was something that told me, bruh, I think you might want to do a little bit more research on this. And I think what really got me too was when I looked at the theater showtimes. I think if I believe this, if I'm thinking about this correctly, I think I saw it said NR, which is not rated. And I think I looked at it again and it said rated R. And I could be tripping about this if I saw it NR or not. But in seeing that part, I was like, I don't know. I think that's what made me put up a little bit of a question mark of, do I really want to go see this movie? But anyway, I'm game. I'm like, all right, come on, let's go along. Let's go watch this movie and let's see what's going on. Whoa, okay. From the first scene. The first scene is brutal, and for those of y'all who haven't seen this movie, I'm about to spoil the fuck out this movie. For those of y'all who haven't seen, for those of y'all who've seen this movie, y'all know what I'm talking about. The first scene is brutal. I'm talking about, like, it's brutal to the point where you can look at it and say, you get an idea where the movie is gonna go. But after this scene, this shit just gets fucking psycho. Like, okay, so. Kind of like I don't even want to go into the story. I'm not gonna go into the story because the scenes are still standing out in my memory about the gore face of the scene. But overall, Terrifier 2 is a typical 80s slasher movie. It's a 2-hour and 20-minute runtime, which that's a long ass movie. It didn't really seem like it was that long, but it's a long movie because typically a slasher movie is about an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 20. It's not that long. And in the fact of knowing that it was going to be this long, I thought I was going to get a little bit more backstory. I thought I was going to get a little bit more into the mystique of this character, Art the Clown. So I thought I was going to get a little bit more, which I really didn't get too much. I mean, there's a story there, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I really didn't get as much out of it. I ain't gonna say I didn't get much out of it. I didn't get much story out of it. There's a story there. You know what I mean? I'm not saying there's not a story there. It's not a story there. There's a story there, and it gets you, it pulls you in. You know what I mean? Because you got Art the Clown, he's terrorizing he's terrorizing this town for real. But the story centers around this teenage girl named what was her name? Her name was Sienna. And it centers around her, and you get the little bit of mystique that's going on with the issues that she had going on with her father, that her father killed herself, and her father killed himself, and he was starting to see visions of this clown. You know what I mean? So you get a little bit of that story that's going on with there. So that hooked me. That's what kept me there for that 2 hours and 20 minutes. But I think overall, what really got this thing with these 2 hours and 20 minutes is these fucking gory scenes, man. These scenes was just, oh my God, man. These scenes was fucking crazy, man. And big up to Damien Leone or Leone. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. I don't know if he goes by Leone or Leone. But big up to him because he wrote the movie and he directed it. And I think his whole perspective in this movie was like, okay, how can I freak the hell out of people? Or how can I make people just feel so squeamish in this movie that they literally will walk out of this movie theater? And I will tell you, I was in this movie theater. There was a couple sitting across from me. There was a couple sitting down, and there was another couple down a couple other rows. So it was a total of eight of us in the movie theater. 2 of these couples walked out of this movie. That's how fucking bad these fucking scenes were. Now, I know for the horror connoisseur, they're gonna love this shit. You know what I mean? I looked at a couple of other reviews of this movie on YouTube last night, and I was reading the comments, and it was some comments about people saying they just loved it, and they loved the gore fest and how it took them back to, old horror movies. And like I said, big up to Damien Leone for doing what he did with this movie. But oh my God, and I don't want to give it up, but I gotta give some of this shit up because some of these scenes was fucking brutal, man. Like, to me, like, every scene kept getting worse. And I got to the point in the movie where I think there's like about, hold on, there's one, two, there's one horror store, the friend, the two friends, the mama. There's about there's about 5 to 6 gory ass murders in this movie. And it got to the point where I was getting nervous to see what the hell was going to happen in every murder. After after the scene in the Halloween shop, where, after the scene in the Halloween shop, I was like, okay, you got the next murder coming up. Then after, oh man, this shit is just fucking brutal, man, and it's brutal. You had the Halloween shop, and that shit was brutal. But to me, the most brutal scene was the scene where Art the Clown did to the best friend Allie. Yo, that shit is still sitting in my head right now, of all the fucked up things that he did to this girl. And after that scene, I was just like, yo, can this shit get any worse? Like, after the first scene, I seen the first scene, and I was like, oh my God. And I kind of like looked, and I was in the chair, and after the first scene, I kind of leaned back like, okay, now I see what the fuck this is going to be about. And it just kept getting worse. But that scene with Allie, and like I said, for the people who seen this movie, y'all know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. The shit that he did to this girl in this scene, like, oh my God. After this, I was just like, yo, I don't know if I can take this shit anymore. And I think the next scene, he kills the mama. He kills the mama, and that is the most tame scene in there. He just literally takes a shotgun and blows her head off. But compared to all the other shit going on in this movie, to me, I was like, oh, that's an everyday walk in the park. Because I've seen this in other movies before with, you know, shotguns going off and heads being exploded. To me, that was the least brutal scene in the movie. I think they should have started off with that shit. But in seeing that scene, and you kind of know the people are gonna die because they set the way the scenes are set up. You know these people are gonna die, so you like, okay, they're gonna get it. I just don't know what I'm gonna see. You know what I mean? And it's more like, okay, you know, you see these horror movies and you see them and you like, okay, well, I know this person's gonna die, this person's gonna die, that person's gonna die, and you kind of get to the point where you I don't want to say you get excited about the kill. You get excited about the kill in some of these movies. In this movie, I didn't want to see no more shit after Allie. After the scene with Allie, I was like, yo, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna see after this shit. And like I said, with every scene, because you know who's gonna die. When they start setting it up, and you know they're gonna go through some shit, I'm like, man, I don't know what the hell am I gonna see. You know what I mean? And it made me nervous. It made me nervous to look at this shit and be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna expect. I really didn't know what the hell I was gonna expect in these kill scenes, man. But to the people who love this shit, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? Oh my God, yo. To see some of the torturous shit that Art the Clown put some of these people through, I was like, yo, I can't imagine going through this for real. I can't imagine going through this for real, because it's like, yo, the sheer amount of pain would just totally just make me dumb out. Like, you would just totally pass out from the shock of what's going on with your body and what this person or this entity is doing to you. You know what I mean? It really made me think about, like, yo, it's some crazy motherfuckers out here, kid. Like, to think of I'm thinking about it now, and I'm just thinking about, like, yo, Damien, what was you thinking about when you wrote this thing? And I'm just like, yo, I know he was writing this thing like, yo, I did this in this scene. What the hell can I do? Or how can I interpret the different mutilation tactics you can do to the human body? And you look at this thing like, and you look at it like, yo, this shit is actually possible. That's the scary thing about it. Like, you look at this shit like, yo, somebody can actually be this fucking crazy and really do this shit to people. You know what I mean? I think, to me, that was the most frightening part of looking at this stuff, that there is actually people out here that can actually not only do this shit, and if you can write it and you can think it, if you can write this thing on paper and put it and bring it to life, that lets me know, man, there's a lot of sick motherfuckers out here that can put this stuff on paper and really put it out there and really think about, like, yo, you can really do this to somebody. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking about it now, man. Like it sticks with you, man. If you're not desensitized to none of this shit, it sticks to you. And you know, to the horror fans that love it, then you know, kudos to you. You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking the movie. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking this movie at all. This is not a video slamming this movie because I actually liked the movie. You know, I liked the story that was being told. I wish there was some more things that it dug a little deeper into the character of Art. You know what I mean? But the movie was good, man. It gave me a very creepy, frightening vibe. I haven't been this disturbed in a movie in a long time. I think the last movie that really disturbed me like this probably was, oh shit, man. Damn, man, I don't even know, man. I really don't know what was the last real scary movie that really disturbed me like this. You know what I mean? Got me to the point where I'm going home and I'm like, yo, I'm locking my doors, and yo, if somebody run up to me the wrong way, man, it's gonna be both of us, man. Cause I can't imagine myself going through that type of torture. And if I'm going through that type of torture, man, I'm probably just gonna take the blade out of the person's hand and just tell them, look, man, just fucking kill me now. Don't take me through all of this bullshit, man, because this is ridiculous, kid. So I don't really remember a scary movie that I've watched that really disturbed me like this. You know what I mean? And that's a credit to Damien Leone, because for you to make a movie like this and disturb people. And like I said, there was 2 other couples in this movie. They walked out. I looked to the right of me, and I think they walked out after the second friend was killed. The second friend was killed, and that shit was, oh God, that shit was fucking brutal. Yo, they got up, they left. The couple that was over on the other road, I don't know when they left, man, but I know at the end of the movie, it was one other couple. It was 2 other people walking out of the movie theater beside myself, and I was like, "Yo, people walked out of this movie theater?" Because that's how disturbing this shit was, man. I'm telling you, man, these scenes are fucking brutal. If you're squeamish, you would not be able to take this shit. You know what I mean? You would not be able to take it. But I feel like I'm jumping around all over the place. But getting to the story, I did like the story. I did like the creepy vibe of the movie. I love the acting. I love the acting in the movie. The young lady who played Sienna, hold on, I got it written down this time. Laura Rivera, who played Sienna, she did an awesome job in creating that paranoid, scared type of girl. And she got her own little things. She got her own issues going on. The actor who played her brother, I didn't write down his name because I kind of felt like he was like the weak part of the movie, but you know, he did what he needed to do in the movie. The mama, the actress that played the mama, and I know this family is going through a lot of trauma because of the father killing themselves. You know what I mean? And they go through a lot of trauma, but I feel like with the mama, she did a good job because she has a whole lot of anger going on in her, and I feel like her anger was projected onto her children. You know what I mean? And I think she did a good job. She didn't deserve to die the way she died. You know what I mean? And you knew she was gonna get it too. You just was wondering how was she gonna go. You know what I mean? And I feel like she got the least treatment. She got the least torturous treatment out of the whole film. You know what I mean? But you knew when they set it up, you knew she was gonna go. You know what I mean? The actor who plays Art the Clown, David, what's his name? David Howard Thornton. He did a good job. He has no dialogue in the film. He has no dialogue. So he plays like this clown that's kind of like a meme. So he does all of his movements in silence. You know, he'll be killing somebody and he'll be laughing, but he's laughing silently like he's a mime. You know what I mean? And a lot of the things that he's doing in the movie. If you don't like clowns, this will fuck you up too. Clowns don't bother me. Clowns ain't never bothered me. I know people get bothered by clowns with Pennywise and It and all that stuff. Clowns ain't never been something that I was freaked out about. You know what I mean? But he plays a very creepish, freaky ass, scary ass clown. You know what I mean? So if you don't like clowns, this is not the movie for you. If you don't like clowns, and it's not for you if you don't like blood and guts and shit being torn off and skin being ripped off and body parts being ripped apart and hearts pulled out and man, God, there's so much shit going on in this movie. Now, what I will tell y'all is that all of this stuff is done with practical effects. Give Damien Leone a hand clap, because every single kill is done with a practical effect. There is no CG in this movie whatsoever. You know what I mean? And I said it before in other movies. I know a lot of people give CG a hard way to go. But CG looks good when it's done right. When it's done terribly, you can tell it's done terribly. And honestly, if these special effects and these kills were done in CG, it wouldn't have had the effect that it had. By it being practical and by it being actual physical props that the actors could work with, it gave the performances so much more depth. You know what I mean? Because see, you know, it's CG, so you got to act against a green screen. You got to act against something that's not there. With something that's right in front of your face, you can pull out those emotions. Some of this pain that these people was experiencing, like, okay, like the Halloween shot where he stabs the guy in the eye with a glass bottle, and the guy, he drops on the ground, and you can feel his agony because you can see his face. You can hear the way he sound. And same thing with Ali. Even though I know it's makeup effects and it's practical. Even if you looked away, because I'm closing my eyes now. I'm replaying that scene in my head, and to hear her screaming and to hear, anyway, even if you looked away and you heard the screaming, I think the practical effects made them get more engaged into it. And same thing when he kills the second friend. And by all of these effects being practical, they had something to work with. And with them having something to work with, man, it made it that much more scary. It made it that much more creepy. It made it that much more nasty. So props to Damien Leone for not going the route of doing it in CG and just saying, hey, listen, man, we're going to do everything in practical effects, man. And kudos to him, because I told y'all in other videos, when you got those practical effects, it looks so much more real. You can tell they puppets. You can tell that they're props, but it's so much more different when you have actual fake blood squirting, when you can move and work with the stuff that, you know, these actors can work with, the things that they got their hands on. So props to Damien Leone for doing that. And like I said, I'm not knocking this movie, because the movie was a good movie, but it was just too fucking gory for me. You know what I mean? It was too gory for me. But like I said, the effects was awesome, man. The effects was awesome. The creepy vibe of the score, you know, it had a very, very creepy score to the movie, and I think that added to. That added to what was going on in the film. You know what I mean? Overall, man, Terrifier 2 was a good movie, man. It was a good movie. The only thing I would knock is the runtime. 2 hours and 20 minutes to see all of that shit was. It was too much. It was too much. For it to be that long, I feel like they could have gave me more story. I think like for me, I think for 2 hours and 20 minutes, I felt like they should have gave me more story about the daddy, which they really didn't dig into. And I think for the 2 hours and 20 minutes, it was just more about the gore fest of having all of those gore scenes. Like I said, I think there's about. What is it? I think it's about 5 to 6 kills in this film. And I think after a while it gets to the point, especially toward the end, it starts to drag, and you just like, all right, come on, man, let's just kind of just bring this shit to an end. You know what I mean? Because it's dragging out. And like I said, you know, the gore fest is something crazy. And like I said, the runtime is too long. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes of just slasher shit. And you know, your typical slasher is about an hour and 30, maybe hour and 45 on the top end. You know, I never seen a slasher movie go 2 hours. You know what I mean? But for this thing to be 2 hours and 20 minutes, and there's a post scene, you know, there's a post credit scene that's about shit. That shit is about 10 minutes, maybe 10, almost close to like 15 minutes. You know, and I get it. It aids the story, but it's too long. It's too long for you to sit through. You know what I mean? So, but other than that, man, Terrifier 2 was a good movie. It was a good movie. just not for the squeamish at heart. If you a squeamish, if you a squeamish person and you don't do blood and guts and mutilation, which, like I said, I don't do blood, guts, and mutilation too much, but I can tolerate some of it. But this shit was too much. You know what I mean? And I'm not watching the first part. I can deal without it. I heard in the first part that they got a part where the girl is hanging upside down and she gets sawed in half. And knowing what Damien Leone did in this one, in Terrifier 2, I know they probably show every last little bit of her getting sawed in half. I'm cool, because after watching that scene with Allie, and like I said, that shit still fucked me up to this day, and I'm still thinking about that shit now. After watching that scene with Allie, I don't want to see no more of this shit for a little while. I had to come home and I had to come home and watch some shit. I came home last night and I watched I was watching what was I watching? The Spicy Wings show on YouTube where the actors eat the spicy wings. I had to get my mind off this shit because this movie, this blood and I'm fucking stuttering. I can't get my shit together. All this blood and guts was really just, all this blood and guts really just messed me up for the night. So yeah, I had to come home and watch something because, just too much to handle. Too much to handle. But overall, Terrifier 2 was a good movie. So on a thumbs up scale, Terrifier 2, I give Terrifier 2. Get it together, Mark. I give Terrifier 2 3.5 stars. And I would give it 4, but I'm not giving it 4 because, first of all, because of the runtime, and I think they didn't give me enough story. If they gave me a shorter runtime and condensed the story just a little bit more, maybe tighten it up and told me more about the father, because they told me about the father, but the friend did it in a little what they call it, a little shit, I can't think of the word, but she pretty much summarized what happened to the father. But I think maybe if they gave me maybe a couple scenes, maybe 1 or 2 scenes of the father, you know what I mean, then I probably would have been a little bit more satisfied with it. But I wanted more of that, you know what I mean? And I figured maybe if they do a Terrifier 3, they'll probably give me more. But I'm not going to see Terrifier 3 because the second one was enough. I can't do this shit no more. I'm not going to see the third one, and I'm not going to see the first one. I can watch the first one, but I'm not, because I can't take that shit. So I give Terrifier 3 3.5 stars, and 3.5 stars. I give it 3.5 thumbs up. Makeup effects, you're getting a 4. Damien Leone, props to you, man. Thanks for putting practical effects in your films. And I'll be honest with you, man, I hope, even not just in horror movies, but I hope in movies to come after this, that a lot of directors, a lot of filmmakers take this into effect, that you can still do practical effects and you can still make it work. You know what I mean? Oh, another thing I want to add in too, and I gotta cut this short because this shit going 30 minutes and I really want this thing to go 30 minutes. The way they filmed the movie, it had like that old look. It had that old 80s look. It didn't look so new. You know what I mean? I think that's a testament to like digital cameras. So they might have filmed this in like maybe a 16mm or 35mm. But I love the way it was filmed because it had like that old look, which added to the creepiness of the movie. Them old horror movies that was filmed and then in that old style in the 80s, man, that just adds to it. You know what I mean? I think that's what made them so creepy back in the day. And for Damien Leone to film this movie like this, man, excellent, man. Excellent. So I give him 4 thumbs up on that. So 4 thumbs up on the way it was filmed, 4 thumbs up on the makeup effects, 4 thumbs up on the score because it was a creepy score. But overall, just in general, I give Terrifier 3 3.5 thumbs up because, like I said, it was too damn long, almost 2.5 hours, and I didn't get enough story like I wanted. So like, comment, subscribe. More videos to come. You know what I mean? I'm going into my second half. I ain't gonna say second half, but I'm getting into another year of this. And like I said, I thank y'all for riding with me, watching these videos, just sticking it out with me, and I appreciate you guys. And like I said, I'm putting out some more stuff, and I'm gonna keep on coming with some content because I love doing this. I'm having a good time. I'm having a ball. So once again, This is Short Man Filmworks. I'm your boy, Mr. Mar Sharp, and I will see y'all on the next video. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good night.